Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. This is Nana from Tangle Time Arts, and today we are doing days 1 through 4 of a fragment of your imagination, the 2024 challenge for January. We're a little late getting started, but that's okay. We're going to catch up. And what's great about this is that we are using this awesome tile that's included in the packet. You can print these out on computer paper and then cut them out. It's about the size of an Apprentice tile, so it's about the same size. Or you can use one of the original tiles that we prepared in a different tutorial. And I have one here that we're going to be using, and this is on an original 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch tile. And we already put in our string, our reticula. And we're going to turn now to the first page. So in your packet, it has all the days. And if you're online, you can click the links for examples. Day 1 is spoken in a square fragment. Day 2 is going to be fescue. And then day 3, we have striping into the layout of jonquil. All right. And day 4 is the hanging paradox seed, which is a fun one. All right, let's get started. You are going to need your tile, either the printed one or a prepared one. And you'll also need, I'm going to be using a Sakura Micron 01 today, just because the areas where we put our fragments in are kind of smaller. So I'm looking for the finer line of the 01. And I also have a number 2 pencil and a tortillon, which I'm going to set aside at the moment. All right, so day 1, spoken. That fragment is in a square. So we are going to just start. Let's start. I always like to kind of start on the left-hand side. And the easiest way to start this one is with a little circle, just like that. And then you're going to kind of follow along the circle and come off of that like that. And then you're going to aura that. So actually we have like a spoke. And then you're going to rotate your tile a little bit. And you're going to follow along the circle and come off of that. And aura that as well. Rotate, and we keep doing the same thing. And I'm using kind of a curved line, but you can make them straight if you'd like to. I just like the shape of the curved line. So that's our first layer. These kind of look like spokes. And now we're going to go in the opposite direction. It's going to have a little bit of a holobot effect. So again, following along your circle, and then you're going to come off and you're going to lift up your pen and air draw over to the other side and then keep going. And then we're going to aura that. And then you're going to rotate just a little bit. And let's see, we're going to come off of here like that and put in our aura. I'm going to rotate. And we keep doing the same motions until we make our way all the way around. Let's see, let's go this way. And I think I'm going to put in one last one. It's going to come off this way, like that. So we have our first area of spoken, our first fragment in there. And then I'm just going to repeat that here, here, and here. So we're going to start with a little circle and put in our little spokes. At least they kind of look like spokes to me. And it's really important with this one to keep rotating your tile. Now with this one, I kind of met up with the previous one, and that's just going to kind of give it a nice effect. It's not required, but sometimes it works out really nicely that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're doing about 5 of them. And then we're going to go the other way. And it can get a little tricky because on the original tile, the spaces are very small. But just be patient and imagine air drawing over certain areas. All right, so we have 2 out of the 4 done there. Let's see, do I want to make that a little bigger? Maybe that's a little more helpful. So let's try that. Let's move on to this little area here. Put in your circle and then put in your spokes. And keep rotating. And this one I think can meet up with the one next to it. Just kind of cool. And then need to adjust something here. Okay. And then we're going to go the other way. So follow the circle, come off of that, and rotate a little bit. And these are small areas, so be very patient with yourself. Take your time. And let's see, did we get all of them? Let's make sure. Yeah, that's about all that fits in there. And then over here, same thing, a circle. And then let's have that meet up with the one below it. So you might have more spokes than I do or fewer. My goal is for 5, but depending on the space available, we might only have 4 in there. All right. And then let's see. I'm going to expand my screen. Then we're going to go the other way. And for our last one, it's kind of gonna nicely meet up with the previous one. So sometimes it works out really nicely that way, and other times it doesn't. When you have an area like this where it kind of ends, just ends, I like to kind of extend that into a point. And let's see if there's any other areas like that. We kind of have that situation here. And let's do this. And are there any others? No, that looks pretty good. And then we're going to do the same thing we did here over on this side. So actually we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 areas of this one. All right. This time I'm going to start here because it's the larger section. And we're just going to work our way around again. So it's kind of easier to start with a larger area if there is one. Get a little practice. And we can fit one more spoke here. And then we are going to go the other way. Let's see. I'm going to rotate this way so I can get a better start. All right, we've got our first one done. I'm going to kind of go clockwise here and start with a circle and put in that first spoke and go from there. And then go the other way. So we're getting this really nice layered effect, like a halaba effect with some going underneath other spokes. And this is nicely going to match up with that one. There we go. All right, and then we've got a really small area here. Another circle. There's spoke. Let's see how many we can fit in there. So I think I can just fit another one in like that. Okay. And then go the opposite way. Just kind of taking your time. Especially with these smaller areas. All right, and then we have one more, another circle. Like that. And then we're almost finished. Okay, let's see if there's any areas that we'd like to add some points on. And I see one here. Rotate that around while I'm looking. Do some points here. We've got this. And maybe here. And that's just kind of how I like to tie it all in together. And then for the centers of these, I actually like to put in a little coil, almost like a printemps. This is optional, but it's just something that I like to do. All right. I think we're finished inking in spoken, which is day one. We're going to move on to day two, which is fescue in a circle. So that's going to be these areas here. Okay. Fescue is this sweet, lively, almost grass-like little tangle, and it's super easy, super simple. So I'm gonna start kind of at the center, and I like to do squiggly lines that kind of end with almost like a little bud, like maybe that part's gonna bloom or something. And that's all it is, really, is adding these little organic grass-like structures, and they can be intertwined. Um, and I'm starting from a center point here, but you could have them go around your circle if you'd like. And you can add as many or as few as you like. And that's fescue. That's all there is to it. Super easy. So I'm going to do the same thing all the way up here. And for me, the simplest is just starting in the center with these and just adding as many as I like. So not all of them are going to have the same number of little fescue. And you don't have to do squiggly if you don't want to. It could just be kind of a curved line. They do not have to be intertwined either. And we're going to do the same thing on this other side. And I'm not counting them as I put them in. I'm just basically letting them go where they want to go. And I'm just trusting my instinct to tell me when I have enough. So you might have more than I do or fewer. All right, that's our fescue in a circle. And now for day 3, we have striping into the layout of jonquil. And that's really simple. So I'm going to use these 3 triangle areas here. I'm going to start in the center because that seems like the largest one. So I am just simply, I'm actually going to just draw a line straight down it. And then just to make it easy, I'm going to draw a line up to the top and back down. And then I'm just going to aura that. And then I'm going to add this here, a little bit of aura, or here, or another stripe. And then all we do is ink that in. You can do that solidly, or you can go ahead and just do lines like I'm doing here. If you prefer to ink that in solidly, then I would actually switch pens. And actually, I should have done the opposite. So I'm just going to come down here and ink this in so I can get back on track. Sometimes when I talk, I lose a little sense of what I'm doing. So I'm going to put that in like that. All right. So let me pay attention more to this one. I'm going to put in my jonquil. Layout. And then I'm going to do my striping here and fill it in like I'm supposed to. All right, and then the same thing over here. Line down the center. Then I'm filling in the stripes. You can see these are stripes. And then I'm going to put the lines in. I guess the best way to think of it is kind of like Knightsbridge, where you would, it's kind of like every other, but I'm going to get the one that's touching that corner. So that's how you end up with the every other effect. Okay. So ideally you would want them to look like this one and this one. This one is a little bit off, but remember there's no mistakes. So we just go with the flow there. All right. So then day 4 is the hanging paradox seed. So we have our seed shapes. We have actually 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And paradox is one of those really fun tangles that's kind of addictive once you learn how to do that. But it's a little different in the seed shape because you really have only 2 sides. So I'm going to start in the larger one, and it goes pretty quickly. So I'm going to start at the bottom here and kind of follow along the line of the seed. But as I go along, I'm going to drift away from that a little bit and then follow that up to that point. So it becomes kind of like an aura. And then I'm going to rotate my tile. And now I'm going to start where I left off. And again, follow here. But I'm going to separate from the outer line into an aura and go to a point that's a little away from my initial point. Okay. And we just keep doing that until we get to the center. It's a lot of rotating the tile and just being patient. And as you see, this is coming into the center. So just trust the process. Go slow. And it will all come together. And we keep going until we can't fit any more in there. I think we're almost at that point. It's getting really small. And I'm just going to finish that off like that. So this is the hanging paradox seed. And we're going to do that in these small spaces as well. Okay, these small spaces. So this is day 4, the day 4 fragment. And I'm going to start in the center because that seed shape is a tiny bit larger. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So we can only fit a few of those in there, right? I'm going to do the same over here. This one's even more narrow. That's okay. Just keep working through that. There we go. And we have one more area for the hanging paradox seed. I think that about does it. So that's how it looks kind of inked in. And I am actually going to put the cap on my pen right now. And I'm going to do a little bit of shading. Not a lot, because when we get to the end and we want to see all of the tiles together, I might want to add a little bit more inking maybe to these areas, but I'd like to see what it looks like when we have all of our tiles together, all 8 of the tiles together, and then I might add a little more inking or a little more color. So let's start with spoken, day 1. And we're going to add a little shading like we would for Halaba. So where this one is going under, I'm just adding a little shading to the one that's over it. And I'm going to work my way around that particular fragment and add it always to the same side. And I'm going to do that for each area, actually. Let's see. Kind of have to look and see what's going underneath. It can get a little tricky sometimes. And we'll come up here to this last one in the corner. Spoken is really fun to play with on a larger scale too. You can add many more layers of spokes. It's very challenging in this small space. So, oh, I have an area where I need to go back and add a point here. There we go. All right. So we're just doing the same shading in this area that we did over in this area. I should zoom out a little bit so you can see the bigger picture. And let's go over to this corner. And then we're working clockwise, so down to the next one. And our last one. All right, there we go. Now we'll go on to day 2, the fescue, which is in the circle. So these fragments, I'm not going to add a lot of shading to, but I thought I would kind of go around inside, but around the circle. Just a little bit, not a lot. And we'll blend that with our tortillon. So I'm adding it pretty lightly because I don't want a lot in there. Okay, so we have some shading in there. And then for day 3, the striping into the layout of jonquil. I'm not doing much with these either. I'm just actually adding a little graphite down one side of the center there. And I'm doing the same for all 3. And then day 4, hanging paradox seed. So I like to add the graphite kind of in this area where everything's coming together. So that's where I'm going to add the graphite. There are, as with anything, there are different ways to shade. And this is just one way. And the same with each of these little seed areas down here. All right, and then I'm going to set the pencil aside for a little bit and take my tortillon. And again, I'll start with spoken. And I'm just blending out the areas that got the graphite. And spoken definitely involves a lot of rotating. There's just no way around that, really. It's looking really nice. And just keep rotating and working your way through each section, each fragment. I forgot to put some graphite here, but I have plenty on my tortillon, so I'm just going to add it like that. Simple. Awesome. All right, let's go to our other section of spoken. So we have, it's actually a large section with 4 little fragment sections in there. All right, I think we are on this section now. And then our last section of spoken. All right, and then on to day 3, and we're simply blending out these areas here. Super easy. And I think I might add just a little bit of graphite to these areas here, the triangles that didn't get anything. Like that. And then we have day 4, which is our hanging paradox seed, and we're just simply going to blend out these areas here, which is very, very quick. That gives it some nice depth. And the same with these smaller areas. That is it for the first tile of the Mosaic series. We did 4 days of fragments on one tile. And we will come back when we finish this project and we will deal with maybe adding a little more ink or maybe a little bit of color. I haven't decided yet. But that's it for days 1 through 4. And I hope you've enjoyed this and join me for tile 2, days 5 through 8, which I'll be making shortly. So I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. And if you're enjoying this, please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Love you guys. Bye.